This podcast is sponsored by the Fireman Moving Company. The Fireman Moving Company is the official moving company of WKU Athletics. Not only can they be trusted to move all the coaches in and out of Western, but they can move you anywhere nationwide. The Fireman Moving Company is owned and operated by firemen and is founded by WKU alumni. If you're looking to move sometime soon, give them a call at 270-791-1755 and get yourself a free quote. Welcome to Topper Talk, your number one Western Kentucky athletics podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Moffitt, and I'm joined by co-host Tyler Bailey. Hilltopper Nation, whether it's happening on the hill or on the road, grab those red towels, stand up and cheer, because it's up next on Topper Talk. All right, welcome back, and thank you for downloading and listening to another episode of the Topper Talk podcast, your number one source for WKU sports news and information. We are the only year-round WKU podcast, and we're the only WKU podcast that covers every single sport and every single athlete at Western Kentucky University. We are also a proud member of the College Huddle podcast community. Make sure you're following us on all of our social media platforms. I always suggest and emphasize our Twitter account. That's going to be where your most live and relevant updates are made as they happen. We try to share those out so that everyone in the WKU Twitterverse is aware of stuff going on that's relevant to us. And as always, make sure you slide over to our YouTube channel. We do publish video episodes to go along with our audio episodes. That's at Topper Talk Podcast. Hit the bell over there, subscribe, get notified for every episode that goes up. And I've got Tyler here with me, man. We've got some basketball to talk about and some other things as well, man. You ready to jump into it?
Always ready to jump into it, man. Let's go.
And speaking of, we've had to get caught up with the Red Towel wrap-up, which catches us up with all the news and information that we missed since we last recorded. So, Tyler, hit us with that Red Towel wrap-up.
All right, so I guess we're going to start off talking about, one of the bigger crash outs that I've seen in recent history, or at least the just really the disrespect of Mike Sanford. I'm going to let you talk about it. The comments that he made on his little radio show. I'm going to let you talk about it first. I just want to get your opinion on it.
Yeah, so when this, kind of went viral, the second half of last week, Thursday into Friday, going into the weekend, it just kind of caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting, a former coach here to, be making comments that were disrespectful about the area, completely wrong about the geography of Bowling Green, and just talking about former coaches that coached here as well, saying they didn't run good programs. But had a couple people reach out to me and ask if we were going to do, a special episode just talking about it, because we probably could have done. I mean, we could have done a whole, shock jock type episode and had some former players on and talked about it and drug Mike Sanford through the mud for, just the disrespect and the things that he said. And, took about half a day to mull it over and just decided I didn't want to go that route. I didn't think it was, kind of who we are and who we want to be. But I do think it's relevant. I think it's worth talking about, throwing it into the Red Towel wrap up. And obviously, when Coach Sanford was here, we didn't have a lot of success on the football field. He came in, he talked a big game. He used a lot of big words, as he said. I was at his hiring press conference. I remember being, up there in the Harbaugh Club when he was hired. Really good talker, talked about, dreams and aspirations of taking Western Kentucky to a New Year's Six bowl. Obviously, we had come off several good years with Jeff Brom going 12-2 and then 11-3. So there was a lot of good players, a lot of good football had been played in Bowling Green, Kentucky. And then just immediately cratered, 6-7 season, then followed by a 3-9 season, missing a bowl game. Mike Sanford was fired. We bring in Coach Helton and we go 9-4 immediately. With a lot of his players, a lot of, holdover players that were still here. And Mike Sanford lost a lot of games with, I think he had 7 NFL players on his roster in 2017. If you go back and look at some of the names on there, 7 NFL guys, and then several others that went on to play pro football at various other levels. So Again, it just really caught me off guard to bring up the drug test, the drug testing, and a lot of players failed it. Surprise, man. College football players, if you drug tested across the nation, whether he was sensationalizing the actual results of what it was and saying that there was a cloud of smoke in the meeting room, obviously that's a little bit just hyperbole, and just taking it too far, just being kind of a shock jock almost, just trying to get a reaction. But it just didn't look good for him, being a middle 40s-year-old person and, not taking the high road about a place that gave you your first opportunity to be a head coach. I wasn't expecting him to try to drag Jeff Brom and Bobby Petrino and people like Willie Taggart through the mud. And, you know, surprise, you were on the 2010 staff here at Western Kentucky with Willie Taggart. You knew all about Bowling Green. You knew if there were rednecks in Warren County, guess what? They were here then. They're still here now. Plenty of those people live here and will live here forever. That's our Southern roots. That's our Southern hospitality. I'm sure we greeted him in and treated him and his family very well. Um, but and then the Daniel Boone Forrest comments that, apparently I got a geography lesson on where we are in Kentucky and the landscape of the map. So, just really interesting comments, and us deciding not to tackle that with an episode. I think social media took care of that enough. I think he was dragged, and enough former players responded, and enough people affiliated with the program and with the university and with Bowling Green, Kentucky responded and said, "Hey, years later, you're not going to turn around and talk bad about us for no reason. It didn't work out. Say thank you. You moved on. You went to other places. You kept failing upward and getting coaching opportunities, and now you're coaching high school football in Colorado. How the mighty have fallen. So, we could go there. We could, when some go high, we could go low, I guess you could say, but we're not going to do that. We're going to take the high road and just say, shame on him. Disrespectful to Bowling Green, disrespectful to Western Kentucky University. And, I think as I posted an image of it on several of our social media platforms, WKU Twitter has spoken. Mike Sanford, it didn't look like great comments coming out of your mouth. And you kind of reap what you sow. You made your bed, and now you have to lie in it. Tyler, what were your thoughts on the whole situation?
Well, whenever I first heard rumblings of it on Twitter, I didn't know what it was about. Just I heard something about Mike Sanford. I was like, oh, well, I wonder what he had to say. But then you sit there and you listen to it, and the more that he spouts off, with over exaggerations, I feel like dude's a joker. He's a bum. And then to throw out the Kentucky accent, I'm sure people talk like that. I don't hear it unless it's really heavy. That's just me. But it just bad all around. You come in, you talk about, the team failed 67 drug tests. I mean, at the end of the day, moving forward from that, it's all on you. Like, you're the head coach. You're supposed to be in control of your team. You're supposed to make the good calls. And he just didn't. I know he made a big deal about the Nike swoosh, on the jerseys. He was real big on that. That's some of them big words. I just didn't understand him part of the time. But dude kind of looked like a fool. I hope he got good ratings on that episode, because it's trash. And yeah, I grew up up in Barron County, up on the doorstep, and I grew up in Park City on the doorstep of Mammoth Cave National Park. I didn't know it was Daniel Boone National Park. I don't know when the government changed that up on me, but I can't wait to tell people that. But I mean, at the end of the day, you're right. He kept failing upwards. He was Colorado's interim head coach. He's got an overall head coaching record of 10-16. I feel kind of sorry for the high school team he's coaching. I don't think they know exactly what they're getting. But I hope at the end of the day he's happy where he's at, because I don't think he'll have many friends here in South Central Kentucky, and I think he pretty much burned every bridge that he had once built. For right now, I know, over time people will probably forget or be like, it wasn't nothing. But right now, I don't think he's welcomed here in South Central Kentucky or in Bowling Green. I wouldn't expect it. But at the end of the day, he's a failed college coach, taking shots at a previous job that he got fired. He made some really bad coaching decisions. I would squarely put, Piggy T as QB. Dude was not QB material. He could run, but I'd rather have one. We had a history of high passing yards offense up to that time, and then you get someone that can throw 20 yards down the field. Really don't look good whenever you want to do an air raid offense. If you just want to say, you know what, we're just going to run the ball this year, tell us. Don't tell us it's going to be an air raid. It's going to be exciting. And then, it falls flat on his face. But you're right. Throwing shade at Braun, Petrino, Taggart, calling them renegades, say they didn't control their football team, but very high win records, very successful program up until that time. I mean, you just really make yourself look like a fool. So have fun coaching the high school team, have fun doing your little radio show. I won't listen to it, but I hope some people do. Now, moving on, we got WKU basketball, 100 miles of hate, and WKU toppers end up beating the MTSU Blue Raiders to a tune of 82-80.
Yeah, that was obviously a nice win to sweep the 100 Miles of Hate season series, at least in the regular season, to beat them at third place and then also beat them in our place. Tegan Moore returned and made his presence felt. I think he had 28 points in the game. I thought he was going to be player of the week. I think I mentioned him being robbed later in this episode, but very good win. Armello Boone missed a game, but still just a nice positive win. Always good to beat the blue team and send them back to Murfreesboro with an L. Feels like we're picking up some good momentum right now as far as playing good basketball, and hope that continues. 4 of our last 6 games are on the road, so we're really going to need to, continue playing that well as we enter this road swing that we'll talk about later in the episode, and then take care of business at home, and then we finish on the road as well. So, we're kind of in the middle of a pack right now, kind of in that 4 to 7 seed. We could finish as high as 2 or 3 if we get help from other teams losing, but we could also finish 7-8 if we just have a losing record over these last 6 games. So, but I'll always take that win. I'll appreciate it. I'm glad I couldn't be there. I had to be at a volleyball tournament in Owensboro, but I got to watch the game. Good game, good crowd, over 4,000. Love to see that, especially for a Valentine's Day, evening matchup. So, kudos to the community for showing up, being loud, and obviously WKU basketball getting that win.
Yeah, whenever Moore came back in, for the first time in I think maybe five games, people stood up and applauded him. It was really nice to see him come back in there. And really he picked up right where he dropped off. I was kind of worried about maybe being slow legs or whatever. No, I mean he would get down there into the lane, he would put the shot up, get fouled. He was 13 of 15 on free throws, so he led the team in free throws, attempted and hit. But I'm not going to skip over Grant Newell. He came in, he had our first 5 points. Come in, dropped a 3, end up getting 2-pointer after that. He ended up with 7 rebounds, 7-11 from the field goal, 4 of 7 from 3-point land. So dude was on fire. And LJ Hackman, he ended with 14 points. He had 5 rebounds, 5 for 5 from the free throw stripe, 1 of 2 from 3, 4-7 from the field. Blaze Cada, he's been having a really good rebounding games. He ended up with 4 points, 5 rebounds. He did have a few turnovers, but that's one thing that I noticed. And we also, in this game, we also ended up going, I think we finished the game, or in the second half, we had 6 minutes without a field goal. And that's when MTSU really started coming back on us. But team played really good. And you're just going to have some of those. I don't think we need to have those extended minutes without a field goal. Where we just shoot free throws. I'd like to be able to get more buckets in that. Especially when it comes to close games with MTSU. But in the game, we was 8 of 22 from the 3. We was 28 of 32 from the free throw line. Look at MTSU; they were 9 of 13 from the free throw line. So, we really shot more than they even, we attempted more than they even thought about for that entire game. But, I think team played good. We had some spots that we had to clean up. We had 14 turnovers. MTSU had 12. So we do need to break some of that down and take better care of the ball, which I think we will. But man, I wish Boone was able to play. It looked like the coach said he tweaked his ankle like the day before. So hope it's nothing too serious. He was in like a little walking boot, which him and Bryant was standing side by side, and the opposite foot on each player was booted up. So I was like, dang, that don't look good. But hopefully he comes back and he's ready to play against Delaware or definitely Liberty, because I feel like we're definitely going to need him later in the week. But, I think team played good, and hopefully and you're right, we are catching a little steam right here. Hopefully we're able to keep it up and build on it, and we really go into the rest of the season just BTA, as you like to say, especially these next 2 games. Then you got the home games, and we end on at FIU. I'd really like to just kind of clean sweep the rest of the season. But Lady Toppers basketball, they got a big win. They beat Jack State 56-41.
Yeah, nice to see them, kind of turn things around, at least for a game, and get off that losing streak we've just talked about over and over, week after week. I think they had lost 7 games in a row, something like that. They're still currently at the bottom of the Conference USA standings on the women's side. They're 6-18 overall in the season. They're 2-11 as it stands right now in Conference USA play. Coming down the stretch, only 5 conference games remaining for them. They have another game with MTSU still to play. So, they still are in danger of potentially missing the Conference USA tournament in Huntsville. They're going to need to win, at least 3, if not 4 of these final 5 games. And they're not going to be favored in any of them. They're probably going to need some help from teams above them, losing some games for them to leapfrog and, not be in the 11th or the 12th position, which won't go to Huntsville. The top 10 do. So it's not looking promising, but, crazier things have happened. So let's go. Let's celebrate this win and hopefully look forward to, a few more as the season continues on.
Moving on to WKU Baseball, they split the season opening 4-game series with BYU, the Stormin' Mormons, to a 2-2 leading into next weekend series with SEMO.
Yeah, good season opening series, man. The first game, they lost. They were leading going into the 9th inning. They took the lead, and BYU took the lead back late, and we weren't able to capitalize and get the win. So, this close to having a 3-1 series win, a convincing series win. We lost that first game. We won games 2 and 3. And then the 4th game was just offense from everywhere. I think it was like a 12-8 final score. We had the bases loaded in the bottom of the 9th. It was 12-7. We were able to get 1 run back, but not the rest of them. I think we ended up flying out, when we had 2 outs. So, heck of a series, Big 12 member, not the greatest P4 team in the world, but still respectable showing. A lot of new names and faces on this team, new pitchers, guys that have to make a mark at the plate. So I'll take a split. I'd rather not lose a series. I would have loved to have won that series, but we'll take a split, and obviously we'll look forward to the SEMO series this coming weekend.
WKU Baseball will soon have premium seating available at the Topper Terrace.
Yeah, they posted this the seating availability coming up. It said later in the spring, so hopefully soon. That seating is connected to the indoor practice facility. It's on the outside. It has like a balcony overlooking the field on the third base side there. If you're familiar with the layout of the baseball field and now where the indoor practice facility, sits kind of to that third base side. So looks like really nice seating, man. The renderings look great. Um, the tickets are a little pricey, $1,000 for a season ticket up there. But if you're going to every game, you're going to get your money's worth. And I think that's a ticket I would like to get my hands on. I've already mentioned that to a couple people. Like, I don't know if I'll buy a season ticket up there. I'm not one to go to 30 home baseball games. Just generally availability of getting there with kids all playing sports, etc. I can usually to make it to 3 or 4 games, but if they're selling single game tickets whenever that does become available, I would definitely inquire and try to get up there and just taking the game from a different point of view there at the Nick.
I don't blame you at all. It does seem like that'd be really cool. WKU softball, they was in action this past weekend. They lost to Iowa 6-8 and beat Mercer's 13-2. They are now 6-3 overall.
Yeah, I love to see that. The softball team kind of brought back a lot of firepower this season. I think they only lost one starter from last year's team that had some pretty good success. So, really high hopes for this team and just how good they'll be and hopefully can stack some wins. Obviously, hate to see that loss to Iowa, but, they didn't go down without a fight. 6-8 is pretty good. And then turn around and take it right back out on Mercer 13-2. Love to see that. 6-3 on the season, and even more good news, I have a feeling, coming up.
And your feelings would be correct. WKU softball pitcher Maddie Woods was named Conference USA Pitcher of the Week.
So now that makes 2 weeks of softball action and 2 consecutive weeks of Conference USA Pitchers of the Week, won by 2 different pitchers on staff here with WKU softball. So big congratulations to Maddie Wood. She was, led us to 2 wins on the week. She had a 1.97 ERA with 10 total strikeouts and held the opponents to a 157 batting average. So she obviously earned that Pitcher of the Week designation. So big congratulations to Maddie.
Now we got some football news for everyone out there. WKU football announced their full signing class, which included a few new, previously unannounced players. They are kicker Carl Campbell from Ireland, offensive lineman Zach Clayton from MTSU, defensive tackle Zaquai Lawton from Sam Houston State University, running back Caleb Hicks from Oklahoma State, running back AJ Allen from Tulsa, tight end CC Ezram from Toledo, punter Daniel Wall from Australia, and tight end Colson Arends from Arizona State.
Yeah, so this portal signing class, which already was really strong, got quite a bit stronger with some of these guys who were previously unannounced. There were 40 total guys that were announced, but these 8 here were new ones, that I had never seen. I hadn't seen graphics posted by them or anything they've shared to let me know that they were coming to Western before this signing day announcement by WKU football the other day. And man, an already good signing class, one of the best in Conference USA, got even better because we needed some running back help. Our running back room was looking pretty thin with the guys we've had that graduated. They transferred out. You get Caleb Hicks from OK State, P4 school. And then you get AJ Allen from Tulsa, who, if you look into him, former 5-star recruit coming out of high school. He was the number 5 player in the nation. He's bounced around at a couple schools, but now lands here at Western. So big potential addition there. Big tight end CC Ezram. He's 6'7", coming over from Toledo. The kicker pipeline from Ireland continues. We lose one to West Virginia. Don't worry, we got Carl Campbell coming on campus, and then the punter pipeline from Australia continues. We got Daniel Wall coming over. Just a lot to be excited about for this signing class. Not only the high school guys, which we reviewed in a previous episode, but all these guys and the other 32 names that were officially announced. We will have a full episode. We were kind of waiting on this full signing list to be released because I knew there were going to be some surprises. I think that always happens every year. There's a few that you don't hear about that go under the radar and wait till it's official before they're announced. But we're going to kind of lay all these guys out and kind of what we've added to our roster to replace some guys that we lost. And a lot of production was lost, but man, I feel really good about this signing class and some of these guys that we brought in. So I'm really excited for, the football season that's still 6+ months away.
And I'm not going to hold it against Zach Clayton, coming from MTSU. I feel like he saw the error in his ways, and at least he's putting on the right color jersey this time. Moving on, WKU tennis, they fell to EKU 4-2 and then beat UNC Asheville 5-2.
Yeah, a couple road games. I think they played at USI last week and had a win when we recorded last week. And then on the road at EKU, dropped a tough series with them 4-2, and then played UNC Asheville and beat them 5-2. And I think they're home for the next 6 matches. So they'll be over at Buchanan Park. I'm not sure if they're playing indoors or outdoors. I guess it depends on the weather. Likely indoors, I would guess. It's even though it's been nice, but nice to see tennis bouncing back and getting a good win there. We've talked about graduated one of the most successful and winning senior classes of all time with WKU tennis as far as singles and doubles winners this past year. So glad to see them still competing and winning some matches.
And moving on, we got track and field. They competed at the Tyson Invitational. Kinley Kunkel set a personal record and won the women's 5,000-meter race. And Trevor Hundle set a personal record. In this race, he was an absolute machine. He ran the race and set the personal record in a men's mile at 4 minutes and 9 seconds.
Yeah, really awesome to see those 2 personal records. And obviously Kinley Kunkel, I feel like we've mentioned her several times on this podcast when we're talking about, track and field or cross country. She is obviously a very seasoned and successful runner, setting that personal record and winning that 5,000-meter race. And then Trevor Hudnall, a 4 minute and 9 second mile. That's pretty solid. That's a moving mile. Obviously, with all the events that track and field has, there's too many for us to review every single race and competition, jumps and pole vaults, etc. But those full results, as always, are on WKUsports.com.
Yeah, I didn't think 4 minutes, 9 seconds was even possible. But I'm going to hand it off back to you. Let's get and talk about this week's upcoming games. Moff, back to you, dog.
Yeah, we have a couple game previews to jump into, and as always, those are brought to you by Roof Girl. If you have a leaky roof, shingles detached, faded, or just plain blah, don't call any roofing company. Call Paula with Roof Girl. Locally owned and operated with over 6 years of experience and a proud WKU alumna. She will work with your insurance company. Give Roof Girl a call today to set up your free inspection and quote. See her work by following Roof Girl on Facebook and Instagram. And remember, you're not just calling any roofing company, you're calling Paula, a person who cares for your roof. Again, call or text Roof Girl at 270-392-4768 to get started today. And now we jump into the Delaware and Liberty previews. WKU enters this week's games with a record of 14-11 overall. We are 7-7 in Conference USA play after beating MTSU this past weekend, like we just discussed, 82-80. WKU is on the road this week. We have 2 road games. We play at Delaware at 6 p.m. on Wednesday night. The game is on ESPN Plus. And then we play at Liberty on Saturday at 3 p.m. That game is also on 3 p.m. or on ESPN Plus. So, Tyler, before we jump into these specific games and who we need to know and everything we need to look out for, we talked about this MTSU win. We've talked about kind of hitting a positive stride and winning several games in a row now. So what are your just current thoughts on where the top stand and how the season has progressed as we head into this road trip?
I know some people be down on tops based on our records, but I feel like this team has overcome a lot of adversity. They've had a lot of injuries. You had our leading scorer, leading rebounder, assister, or leading assist and scorer out 5 games. You had Boone; he's been out quite a bit. He's a key part in the rebounding, and he's also a scorer. You also get Bryant. You got Louis out for games, and Bryant out for the season. So you had to have players step up, and I feel like they have. We've had some games that I feel like the energy was low, or the guys just wasn't having it that game. Some wasn't clicking, and scoring was a problem, or defense was a problem. But the team ain't giving up, ain't giving up. And this road stand, you going into Delaware. I don't think they're as bad as a record says they are. They beat MTSU at home. They've yet to play MTSU on the road. Liberty, they lost to them 67-51 at Liberty. Then turned around and lost to them 75-69 at home. And it's always hard to win on the road. So I feel like Delaware. I looked at their stats, also kind of misleading. So I feel like this is going to be a could be a tough win. A tough game to play. This team, first year in Conference USA, they're trying their best to assert themselves into the conference, and then you turn right around and play Liberty, which we know what Liberty is. Liberty, by record wise, best team in the conference. They pass ball good, they shoot the ball good. Yes, they may do some dirty shots. I'm looking to use that, Cleveland, but to be the best, you got to beat the best. So it'd be a key win on the season. I feel like if we could walk in there and come out with a win, which is doable, but the guys are going to have to play hard, going to have to play together. Can't take no time off in this game. But this road stand's going to be rough. I feel like just like almost every road game is, but I feel like tops are up for it. They're just going to have to show up, man.
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting week. I think it's gonna be telling for how this season may end. But looking at Delaware, they do enter this week with a record of 9-16 overall, including being 5-9 in Conference USA play. They're currently playing their best basketball of the season. They've won 3 straight games. Sounds familiar. Kind of sounds like what we're doing right now, including winning games at FIU and Missouri State last week. This will be the first basketball meeting between the two schools as Conference USA foes, and it's also the only regular season matchup we have scheduled with Delaware. We don't have a home game with them due to the 20-game conference schedule. You don't have home and aways with everyone. We don't have Delaware at home. We don't have Louisiana Tech on the road. The two programs have never played each other in men's basketball before the season. The ESPN matchup predictor currently gives WKU a 63.8% chance of victory, and the betting line opened at WKU favored by 2.5. So, not very often or very common for us, at least, to be a road favorite. Those road games, like you mentioned, have been hard to come by, hard to get some victories. So, looking forward to it, but we're going to have to show up and play a good game because Delaware is playing good basketball right now. They're a good shooting team. They're a good passing team. We'll talk about some opportunities that we have maybe to exploit and expose and hopefully get the victory. But Tyler, what are your thoughts on Delaware before we jump into the leading players to know?
I mean, based on their, if you look at their previous games, I feel like we should be able to come in and easily handle them. But this is about the right time to actually start clicking good as a team and winning games. And by golly, if both of us ain't doing it at the exact same time, I don't like playing on the road. I feel like that's a disadvantage to us. I'm surprised the ESPN matchup predictor gave us 63%. I could expect maybe a higher 50s or even I guess a high 50s. But at this time, and kind of like what Coach said there on the post game for the MTSU game, he says you can't expect to walk into any gym and walk out with a win. No one's going to give you those wins. You're going to have to earn them. So, if you look at the player stats, which we're about to do, Delaware has some scores. They have some rebounders. And they have guys who can pass the ball good and get a lot of assists, like you said. So we're going to come in and we're not going to be able to sleepwalk through these games. Yes, they have been on a 5-game losing streak this season. They've been on a 2-game losing streak. Lost to UTEP, lost at home against Liberty. 3-game winning streak right now. They beat MTSU 89-88, beat FIU, like you said, 68-66, and then beat at Missouri 76-67. So, right now they're probably feeling themselves. They're probably feeling real comfortable. So we're going to come in ready for a battle.
Yeah, they're probably feeling real comfortable, especially being at home. And as we jump into these players to know, I was just kind of surprised, really. On paper, the production that these guys have just looks a lot better than what their record is. And I think there's some reasoning for that when we get to the end of that. But looking at their leading score and as it compares to our leaders there, their leading scorer, and he is the reigning Conference USA Player of the Week, Justin Fernandez. Again, I think Tegan Moore got robbed. I'm just gonna go out there and say it. He averaged 21 points last week in 2 games. Tegan had 28 points. He only played 1 game. If he's getting penalized for only playing 1 game, that's crazy. But Justin Fernandez is a 6'5", 210-pound senior guard. He's averaging 15.8 points per game, 5 rebounds per game, and 2.3 assists per game. He has scored 20-plus points in 4 consecutive games. He can score from all 3 levels. He shoots the 3 well. He averages 5 free throws per game, and he makes them at a high percentage. And he also shoots a high percentage from the field. He also plays 36 minutes per game for the season, and he's been at or over 40 minutes in 3 of the last 4 games. Remember that note. We're going to come back to it. Their leading rebounder, Macon Emery, he's a 6'8", 200-pound sophomore. Forward, he's averaging 6.8 rebounds per game to go along with 11.5 points per game. And then their leading passer is guard Christian Bliss. He's a 6'4", 190-pound guard. He's averaging 5.9 assists per game. That is good for 27th nationally. He also averages 15.8 points per game and 5.6 rebounds per game. He is a stat stuffer. And I said, remember the minutes per game on Justin Fernandez, because as I looked at all 3 of these guys regularly play 37, 38, 40 minutes per game. They had an overtime game last week. 2 of them played all 45 minutes. So I got to dive in a little bit deeper, asking around people that I know that are into the Ken Palm stats, etc. Delaware ranks 365th in the nation. That's dead last in the nation in bench minutes and bench production. So they are a very, very short rotation team that doesn't play a lot of the guys. They play 7 guys. They had 6 players on the injury availability report in their last game that weren't available for the game. And I really think all that favors us. And I bring that up because we're pretty deep. I mean, we're still playing a lot of guys, even with all the injuries that we've dealt with. Armello being out, Lawson being out for a season, Louis out, Bryant's out. Hopefully Armello's back for this game. But, I think that strength of our depth and the pace that we like to play, we like to push the pace and play fast. If we can wear down a team or possibly get somebody in foul trouble and force them to play some of their depth or get one of these guys that are high production, high usage guys off the court, again, I think that could very well favor us. So 365th in bench minutes and production. So remember that stat when this game does get started, because I think it could be important. And then looking at the team comparison, just how we compare, You can see WKU scores more points than Delaware. They're scoring less than 67 points per game. They're allowing 71.8, which is slightly less than us, but again, they're giving up more points than they're scoring on average. Their field goal percentage, they are at 45%. They're one of the more efficient teams in Conference USA, and that really has kind of turned around this second half of the season. They did not have a good start to the season, but now their field goal efficiency, they can be dangerous. They're one of those teams that might crash the party, whether it's down the line in the regular season or somebody at the tournament, a quick one and done. So watch out. They shoot the ball well. Rebounding, big advantage to WKU, over 40 a game for us, 31 for Delaware. Assists per game, basically even, 12.5 to 12.9. Blocks per game, again, basically even, 2.7 to 3. And then steals, advantage to WKU, 7.6 to 5.4. So, throw away the records. We're playing on the road. We're playing against a team right now that's playing their best basketball of the season, which is exactly middle end of February. This is when you want to hit your stride. They may not be healthy, but they've got their guys, they've got their horses, people that are productive in their system, and they're playing well. They haven't won a lot of ball games, but 3 in a row is nothing to sneeze at in Conference USA, and a couple of those being road games. So this is going to be a tough one. We're going to have to show up. We can't shoot 35% from the field. We can't shoot 2 of 20 from 3 and expect to go into Delaware, into their house, and steal this win. So even though we're favored by the betting line and by the ESPN matchup predictor, it's still a game that we have to show up, and we're going to have to go win. Tyler, what's your thoughts on this matchup with Delaware?
I mean, I honestly feel like they're dangerous. Right now, they're sitting at 11th in the conference standing. And as everyone knows, they're only taking 10 down there to the tournament this year. So right now, they're probably scratching and fighting for every game they can win. Their 5 leading scorers, all of them are scoring above 9 points. With Jamel Brown scoring 9.8 points a game. Then your next 4, McCrone Emery, he's scoring 11.5% or 11.5 points per game. Tyler Hauser, he's our 3rd leading scorer. He's scoring 13.8. Christian Bliss, him and Justin Fernandez are both averaging 15.8 points per game. And really, Christian Bliss, they have 4 players that shot over 100 3-point shots this year: McCrone, Tyler Hauser, Christian Bliss, and Justin Fernandez. Christian Bliss has shot 132. Granted, he's only hit 52 of them. He's still willing to take shots. Him and Fernandez, McCrone Emery, he's a forward. He's shot 123 points. He's on 123 pointers. He's only hit 35 of them. Tyler Hauser, he shot 100, has only hit 37, and Justin Fernandez, he shot 118, and he's only hit 48. You look at the free throws attempted versus made. Christian Bliss has attempted 123 free throws. He's hit 102 of them. The next leading free throw attempter is Tyler Hauser, and he's only shot 67. So them 2 guys really, I'd worry about Christian Bliss getting someone on our team in foul trouble. Getting to the line or getting into the lane, drawing a foul, and chance to make an and one or just hit 2 right there on the line. But I really view this team as dangerous. I feel like they could upset some teams in conference play. And then I feel like if they made it into the conference tournament, maybe one and done. I'd say probably their ceiling's 2 and out. But man, it's like I said, if you look at their stats, kind of surprising. And I feel like that just goes to them. But you're right, maybe they didn't have a great start of the season, but everyone knows that it really only matters what you do towards the end of the season and in conference tournament, really. So I feel like this team could be dangerous to some teams in the conference. Hopefully not us. Hopefully we come out, we shoot a high 30% from 3-point land, and a high 40% from twos, and we just walk out there with an easy W.
I'll say I don't know if any W will be easy on the road, but I'll take it by 1 or 100, as long as we put it in that left-hand column. But looking at Liberty, they enter this week's games with a record of 22-3. They are 14-0 in Conference USA play. They have won 16 straight games. The two teams, we last played them on January 21st at Diddle Arena, with Liberty pulling out a 76-69 victory in a game that was on the ropes down the wire. We were just a waved off 3-pointer by Ryan Myers from an illegal screen from tying the game or possibly taking the lead, and then a missed three from being right there. Obviously, they pulled away with some free throws at the end, but there's not a lot that we don't know about Liberty. They returned their core players from last season. They're an elite level passing and shooting team. They win a lot because of it. They're just very efficient at what they do. The ESPN matchup predictor gives Liberty an 84.4% chance of victory. That might be the most lopsided I've seen in a conference game ever. But that just goes to show, they're 22-3. They've lost 3 games on the season. They have not lost a game in Conference USA play, although since our game, when they kind of barely scraped by and got a win, they have been on the ropes in several games over the last few weeks, including needing a couple game-winning buckets to avoid overtime. But to their credit, they have found a way to win. So, Tyler, before we talk about Liberty, one of my questions is, are they due a loss? What are your thoughts on this rematch with Liberty? Obviously, hopefully it doesn't get physical. We know the Zach Cleveland clothesline takedown of Teagan that cost him 5 games. I don't think it'll get chippy or physical and looking for revenge on that, but I don't know. Hard fouls do happen occasionally, and anything could happen, but going on the road to their place in a game that is being advertised as a sellout, I've got that pulled up on the screen. Granted, their arena only holds 4,000 fans, but still, kudos for them for selling that out. Should be a good, raucous environment. So, Tyler, what are your thoughts on this matchup with Liberty?
Well, to answer your question, yes, they are due a loss. They almost lost to the worst team in the conference, to New Mexico State. They only beat at New Mexico State 77-75. And I'd like to say, yes, it's impressive that they sold out a 4,000 seat stadium. The gym that I played on in high school or played in, my home gym, sits 5,000 in Barron County. That's cute. But I'm sure there'll be route and ruckus in there. But we know what this team is going to do. The team's going to spread you out. They're going to make a lot of quick passes. They're going to completely flip the court, flip the half court in there. The ball's going to be in one corner. Next time you blink and look, it's going to be in the opposite corner. That's just what they do. They're a great passing team. I don't think they really try to get into the lane. They typically try to shoot you out of the gym from 3-point lane. But Zach Cleveland, he's been watching that WWE stuff, that wrestling. I guess he's bought all in on it. Hopefully he don't give any more of our players a concussion. I'd really be on the lookout for them, but I don't think it should get too chippy. But if it is, I'm here for it. But I feel like they are due a loss. Yes, they have won comfortably in Conference USA this year, but they've really had to fight for some of them. And at our place was one of those games. I think their first year in Conference USA, I think they beat us at Western, we beat them at Liberty. Yeah. I thought we won the away game and they won their away game, but I feel like that could happen this year. I'm glad we're going. Hopefully, we have all the players that are able to play back. And I feel like the team ain't going to forget that loss that we took at home against Liberty. And and hopefully we come out ready to play hard and just get the victory out there. I don't care if it's by 1, I don't care if it's by 50. I just want to beat them at their place.
Yeah, jumping into their players to know, I don't think there's a lot of surprises with these guys. I think these are all players we're pretty familiar with. Brett Decker Jr., he's kind of turned into that Talon Peter. He's in the NBA, went to the G League with the Pacers and got called up to the NBA, and heck of a shooter. Brought him up from D2 last year, and he was really impressive last year. And now they've replaced him. Brett Decker Jr. stepped right in, shoots well from from the field. He shoots well from three. Now their leading scorer was Zach Cleveland. He's scoring 17 points per game to lead them in scoring. Then looking at their leading rebounder, that is Mr. Clothesline himself, Zach Cleveland, averaging 8 rebounds per game. And then their leading assist man, also Zach Cleveland, 7.1 assists per game. Obviously, he's just kind of kind of a 3-tool player, I guess, for basketball terms. He's not a 5-tool player, baseball player, but he can fill the stat sheet. He can beat you in a lot of ways. And, when we played them here at home, he didn't score a lot of points, but, he took out our best player. I guess that's one way to help you win. So, hopefully we play a little bit of a cleaner game and we don't see any type of hard fouls like that. But then looking at the team comparisons here, one of the few in Conference USA that's outscoring us in Liberty. They're scoring almost 79 points per game to our 77.5, and they're allowing less points than us. They're at 67.7 allowed. We allow 74.6. Their field goal shooting, they're one of the most efficient teams in the nation, not just Conference USA, shooting 52% from the field. Big advantage to us in rebounding, over 10 rebounds per game on average more for WKU. Assist, that comes with the territory, making shots. You're making a lot of shots, you're going to have a lot of assists. They're an elite level passing team. They're fun to watch unless you're playing them, and we will be playing them this coming Saturday. They average 17.6 assists per games to our 12.9. Blocks, they do average 3.5, slightly more than our 2.7, and then steals slightly below our 7.6. They are at 6.6, so man, just it would be a big win. It'd be nice to hand them their first conference loss. I asked earlier, are they due for a loss? And I guess if I was asking a Liberty fan, they impressively, they have found ways to win those close ball games, and there's been 3 or 4 of them that have been close ball games. But I guess, would they rather go ahead and get that loss now in the regular season and learn from it and bounce back and kind of be more angry and aggressive about it? I don't think they want to get to a tournament style setting and lose a game and, at the CUSA tournament in Huntsville and leave their, NCAA tournament hopes to an at-large bid, because I don't know if their resume is strong enough. It depends on the bubble, depends on how many bid stealers there are. So I'm not saying they're due a loss. I'm not saying they're going to lose before the season ends, because I think they're a really high-quality team. But, man, they have been flirting with it, and it could happen. That's for sure. It could happen, and I would love to be the one that goes into Liberty and spoils their sellout. But Tyler, let's jump into our keys to victory, as we always do. Those 3 keys of what we need to do to win this week's ball games and on the road this week. So, Tyler, what is your first key to victory this week?
Mine's going to be start fast. On the road, we have started slow the last few games. I'd really like to start fast and really like to get points on the board early.
I think we need to continue to attack the paint, and I think we've done a much better job than that, even in Teagan's absence. The last few games since the FIU game and now the MTSU game, when we get into the paint, we get downhill, good things happen. We either score the basket, we get fouled and go to the free throw line, or we kick the ball out to a shooter, which is a much higher percentage shot as a catch and shoot 3. And we've seen that over the last few games. And I think now with Teagan back, that should be a heavier emphasis for us. If Armelo's back, look out. I love him downhill, driving the paint. So I think that should be priority number 1. Keep attacking the paint. Tyler, what's your second key to victory?
Well, And the exact same thing. My second one's going to be getting to the lane. You're right. We have really good luck whenever we get into the lane, either get to and one or shoot free throws, or get into the lane, pass out to Myers or Moore or just someone out there on 3 point like Newell. We have really good luck that. So that's my second key to victory is we really got to attack the lane, try to rack up some fouls on the opposing team, or at least get some open shots from behind the arc.
I think my second key to victory is going to be don't fall in love with the three. Man, we've done it a few times this year. Especially once they start going in early, we pop off, make 2, 3, 4 early in the game. We'll shoot 30. We'll push 40. I don't think these are two teams this week that we want to get into a shooting match with. Delaware shoots the ball at a very good percentage. Liberty shoots the ball at a very good percentage, one of the best in the nation. These are two really good shooting teams, and usually one of the first things that doesn't travel on the road, it seems like, is that shooting percentage. It seems like that dip. So while obviously I don't mind the Plona system of shooting a high volume of threes, I just don't want us to lose that mindset of my first key to victory of attacking the lane. So let's not fall in love with the threes. Shoot them when they're open. Good catch and shoot looks, high percentage looks, but let's not shoot 40 a game. Tyler, what's your third key to victory?
Play some lockdown defense. We know what Liberty's going to do. I mentioned it. You mentioned it. They're a great passing team. If we can force them to, throw the ball away or pause whenever they're trying to look for a shooter, that's just going to help us out. And Delaware also a good passing team. I feel like if we can play lockdown defense on these two teams, we're going to go away. It's going to be a close game, but I feel like we're going to win.
I think my last key to victory is going to be one of your first keys to victory. I can't remember if it was one or two, but we can't start slow. Not against these two teams, because when you start slow and you get behind, 8, 10, 12, 14 points early, at half, going into the second half, then what are you going to do? You're going to come out and try to make that all up in one shot. There's no 14-point shot on the court, but we'll come out there and shoot 10 threes in a row, trying to come back all at once instead of chipping away slowly and just kind of continue to attack the basket, get to the free throw line, cause foul trouble, etc. So we have seen that be an Achilles a lot this season, the slow starts. That can be even more highlighted on the road. If you start slow and you let the crowds get into the game, it can be tougher to get back into it. So let's have good, strong starts in both of these games on the road. Tyler, who do you have as your MVT, your most valuable topper in this week's road games?
I want to say more because he's coming off a big, great game against MTSU, high scoring, high production. I'm gonna go back with Grant Newell though. A great mismatch, like I said last week, great mismatch against big guys. He can dribble on you. He can step out and shoot three. He's got good footwork in the paint. So I'm gonna go with Grant Newell this week.
Yeah, give me Old Faithful. Give me Teagan Moore. I think when you sit out 5 games, you saw what he came back and did with a head full of steam. Came back knocking down some 3-pointers, man. Looked good back there. Just lean back, nice, casual, good follow through. Good looking 3-point shot. So I look for Teagan Moore to be my most valuable topper. I think we need him to be at his best to have a chance to win these 2 games on the road. Now, Tyler, what have you got for your score predictions for both games? What's the score and who's going to win?
All right, so call me crazy. I got my red glasses on. I got Western beating Delaware 81-72. And then I got us beating Liberty 67-70. I'm sorry, 76-73. Close one at whatever they call their gym, 4,000 people strong. I'd like to go in there and shut them up and make them walk home with that L.
Man, this was a tough one for me. I think both these games are going to be tough, like we've talked about all episode. I think we can beat Delaware. We're going to have to play well, though. I think we win that game 74-68. We're a 2.5 point favorite as it opened. Hopefully, we can get a nice, comfortable win there and not rely on a last second shot or last second free throws like we saw against MTSU. Liberty, man, I wish I could be as optimistic as you are. I certainly think we can beat them. I certainly would love to beat them. I'd love to come on here next week and say, man, I was wrong. We went to Liberty and took them to the woodshed. But I'm going to give Liberty the victory just because I think they're that good a team. They're going to be playing in front of their home fans in a loud 4,000-seat arena. It's going to be a good environment, and I think our boys are going to fall 78-70. So I'll take a split on this road trip, even though I would love and rather go 2-0, and I hope I'm eating that crow on next week's episode. But really looking forward to it. It should be a fun couple of games. A lot of sports going on right now at Western with track and field, softball, baseball, tennis, basketball, men's and women's. So a lot to keep up with every week, and we recap that in the wrap up. But every Saturday, man, it's just a full slate of games and stuff starting at 8, 9 a.m. and go until 6 and 7 p.m. at night. So really looking forward to supporting all these Hilltopper sports and athletes and watching these games on the road. Thankful that they're on ESPN Plus and we can watch them. And hopefully we're back here next week talking about a couple solid victories. So Tyler, hit us with your final words and take us on out of here.
Yeah, I want to start off by saying I wonder how long McDevitt cried and just complained about the refs Saturday night after the game, because during the game, he was flustered. And nothing was better to see than him sitting over there. And I heard him. I was sitting behind the goal there next to our bench, and I heard him yell from his little coach's box, "This is embarrassing," like 3-4 times in a row because the refs called a foul on one of his players. I feel great about that, and I hope the worst for him and for the MTSU. But yeah, I hope y'all go out and support the baseball team, softball team. Both of them are great venues, great times, especially when that weather starts getting a little warmer. Softball is always fun to go watch. Baseball is a blast too. So some of these lesser known teams, these people, student athletes, really put on the jersey with WKU on the front, and they would love nothing more than for people to come out and support them and just show them some support and gratitude for doing that, for putting time and effort into representing Western Kentucky pretty well. But you're right. I'm glad these games are on ESPN Plus that I'll be able to watch them. And I just hope we have a great week of athletics here on the Hill. So with that said, Moff, who has it better than us?
Nobody, buddy. You know it.
Definitely not MTSU. Piss off. Go Tops.
Go Tops. Later, guys.
See y'all.